It's time for us to go into the UCI machine learning repository to pick out a data set that we can use to convert text columns into numeric columns with PD get dummies. So follow along with me. I want you in a new web browser to go to the UCI machine learning repository. Just type in UCI machine learning repository as a Google search, and it should show up as the first entry. So click on it. Then if you look on the right side, you'll see most popular data sets, hits since 2007. You'll see something called adult. Is it an adult data set? Okay, there are adults in the data set. It's actually about adults. If you click on it, go ahead and do that. You see the description is to predict whether income exceeds 50K a year based on census data, also known as census income data set, which I think is the better name. So go ahead and click on the data folder. And then the way UCI machine learning repository works is that it's in this adult.data. You can click on it and download it to your local machine and get it like that if you want. What I'm going to do, and I encourage you to do this with me if you want to just do it via a link, copy, oh, I tried there. Copy adult.data, Command C. You could just write it too. And then append it to the end of the URL that's at the top, okay? So I'm just adding adult.data, Command V here. That's the URL that should work in terms of Colab notebooks. So when I copy that Command C, okay, now I want to go ahead and open up a new Colab notebook and load that data set. I want you to go ahead and do that now. I think at this point, I'm going to give you a head start that you can probably do it without me. Okay, so take a moment, get rolling. I will go ahead and jump in. I'm confident that you've got the colab.research.google.com piece down in the new notebook. I'm going to give this a title of, I'm going to call it PD Get Dummies, okay? Because that is what we're going to be using, okay? And let's go ahead and load it. So you got the URL. Remember to put it in quotes. And then you want to import pandas, right? We always do as PD. And then define the data frame. You need the read_CSV method with the URL in parentheses. Or if you got the file, if you download it directly to your machine, recall that you can go to File here. I can click on Files. And then it says it's connecting to a runtime to an, okay, there it goes. And then if you click on the right side, you can copy the path, okay? And so that's what you put instead of URL. Okay, it's kind of fun to like keep it online. And then go ahead and look at it. Let's see, did it work? I tell you, the most common error on this is that you didn't put in the adult.data at the end here. You got to have that in order for it to work, okay? So if you've got an error, trying to do it using the URL, look, I have adult, which is it going? Hold it up, it's going forward, /adult.data, all right? And this looks good for the most part. Like these columns are not right, you know? And we definitely want to fix them in terms of PD get dummies. You'll see why. So to correct that, first thing we can do is put header equals none. That will eliminate the, see that's a row there. That's not the name of the columns. And how do I know that? We just look at it. I mean, it doesn't, 13 is the name of the column and the values are 13, not, I mean, it's just clear it's a row. Okay. So if I try that again, I should get the column indices, and that's okay. You know, we could use that, but better, let's get the actual column names. So how do we do that? Again, fortunately, there's not a great method with UCI Machine Learning Repository. I found the most efficient over time just to be, I'm sure there's a better one out there I don't know, so please let me know if you know. Encourage you all to look it up, see if you can find a better way. If I go back, see these? All these attributes, I just copy them in. Now, I think I have it copied somewhere And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get in there and get the copy. I encourage you to go ahead and write it in, although it could be the case that your cohort lead will provide the copy for you, or I will in the link. And I'm going to put it up here for it to load. So, oh, this is actually after. Okay, why after? Because it's, well, this is actually, it should be df.columns. Sometimes I call it the other thing, meaning df underscore, what is it? But, oh no, df has been defined there, so that's okay. Okay, this should give the column names in the right order. If you do this on your own, note that the column names, see, it's got the attributes and that the 50K one is last, actually. If you look at the UC machine learning repository, it's actually kind of listed first. Okay, and then so you have to watch for these things a little bit. Never blindly do things with big data. Okay, so that should work. Get that code in there, press Shift Enter. And there you have it. Okay. One other just note here for you all. My notebook should always be linked to you. Okay. So if you ever like completely lost, you should be able to find a direct link to the notebook. I don't want you to do that though unless you really needed it, because it'll usually have the whole thing there, right? And the point is that you're coding along with me. That's how you learn. So let us move on. Okay. Of course, you can always pause videos if you need to, right? Not a big deal. And, I'll try to make it all show up here too, because if you're trying to, it can be a little awkward sometimes with the spacing. I want to be sure that you can see everything. Okay. You're going to get that port and income last. Make sure it still works. Getting a lot of data pre-processing going on here. It looks great. So we could now go ahead and apply PD-Get dummies directly. However, it's always worth taking a look first at the data set. For instance, are there any ordinal columns? Okay, well, let's look. Working class, that doesn't seem ordered, right? I mean, that's just different. And so great for PD-Get dummies. What are we doing here? Let me be clear. PD-Get dummies is going to make a new, let's look at working class, worker class, is going to make a new column for each of these values, right? So for state government, there's going to be a new column. It's going to be 1 and all zeros. For self-employed, nodding ink, it's going to be 0, 1, and then all zeros. It's going to have a private column. It's going to have the first 2 zeros, then all ones. Okay? But the next one, education. Ooh, that's ordinal, right? Right? I mean, it's clearly ordered, right? How do you know? Because bachelor's degree is closer to a high school graduate than an 11th grader, right? But look at what's next to it. And this way you always got to look at your data. Education number. Okay, high school grad, I would not expect a 9 there. It must be a different system here. Different numbering system, like not 9th grade, because look, 11th grade is 7. So we don't actually need this column because we just want the numerical ordinal column and it is given to us. Okay? I think the way you can do it, by the way, I think it's used as dot factorize. I don't commonly use it. And just to show you, like, let's say you were on your own, you have your own data set and that column's not there. How would you find it out? We'll try to type stuff in. Ordinal, column, and then you always need something like pandas, okay? Press enter, see what you get. Stack Overflow is what you want, okay? I use Stack Overflow all the time. It's gold, and the reason why is because it's used by programmers. That 12 means 12 programmers like this question, and then you have great answers. And you want to look carefully at the answers, right? So 29 people like this answer, and these again are programmers. You can see this factorized down here with a mapper, and you can, with practice, you can start to modify the code that you see in Stack Overflow, okay? All right, but what I want to do, I don't want to clutter this data set unnecessarily. I'm just going to eliminate this column. So let's do that now. There are different ways that you can delete columns. My favorite is just straight delete df education, right? We don't need it. Now, I always want to verify that it's gone. So I'm going to do df.head again after deleting it. Okay, let's see, does that work? Not there. Okay, not only does that save a space from that column, it saves us potentially like 13 new columns, right? Because each of these were going to be their own columns and they're not needed. Okay, let's look at the rest now. Marital status. You could order that, but I wouldn't. You know, an ordering should be unambiguous. You know what I mean? Occupation, relationship, race, sex, native country. Okay, so all the rest are okay. Now, this is going to create a lot of columns, all right? And you saw at the top how many columns we had. It was under, no, we didn't do that. Let's just do df.info to get a look. And you can see it says right here 14 columns. That's after eliminating one. And also it shows you the types, the objects, and the or strings here, okay? By the way, one other way that you can nicely show how many of things, df.shape. Shape is, it's an attribute, not a method. So there's no parentheses. Go ahead and put it in. Put in df.shape. It's going to be useful to us. Press Shift Enter. And there it is. So that's telling you the shape of this data frame is 32,561 by 14. So it's got 32,561 rows and 14 columns. It's about to change, okay? Let's use PD get dummies now. Reassign the data frame. Do this with me. df equals pd.get dummies. Get the dummy variables. There it is, showing as an option. Great. Why? Because then we know it's right. I can use that. Press enter. I'm going to do that for the whole data frame. Okay. Now, after doing that, I want to see it. I mean, we'll see how it's different. Okay. So go ahead and do that. I always like when there's something kind of exciting that you all get the first look instead of looking on my screen. You know, enter it, see what you get. Okay, here I go. Okay, so it looks kind of interesting. Let's look at when is it actually starting? When is the PD get dummy starting? It's starting here at work class. Okay, that was a column, but look what it does. It actually labels the new columns purposefully. And you can see that there are 94 columns, by the way, in total. So going from 14 to 94 is a big jump, but it's not bad, you know? Like this is a definite improvement, I can tell you that. Because it's all they're all zeros and ones. So what this means is the column was question mark. Yeah, I mean the rows. Some of the entries were question mark. Okay. These are the different after. So there was a column called working class, and now it's showing the different entries: question mark, gov, local gov. So everything after the underscore is showing you what the value actually is. Okay. Remember how we saw private should be the last three? Well, there it is. Okay. Okay, so that's basically it. I mean, what this is, it's a little bit of code, but very powerful because it is transforming the data set into one that will work for machine learning. And you all now know the two pieces that you need to prepare data for machine learning. You need to clean up the null values covered in a previous lecture, and you need to convert your text columns into numeric columns using pd.get_dummies. If you are questioning whether that will work on your data set, my advice is that you try it, and then you can check in with your cohort lead or myself to see if we think it's too unwieldy. You'll know because things will start to slow down. Okay, and believe it or not, there are additional shortcuts that you can use, which is more properly called one-hot encoding, where you only store it if it's an entry of one. So that can also save space. That's actually a sparse matrix. And we're not going to get into that because we're not going to need it. But my point here is simply that there are always kind of new techniques to explore and figure out. Okay? So there's PD get dummies.